All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. This is Drew Amoroso again, and thanks for joining us today for this week's edition of 11 at 11. I appreciate you being here, and congratulations to you for taking some time out of your busy week to work on yourself and on your workday. So this week, I want to look at the idea of discipline. So we've heard a lot over the course of our lifetime about the importance of staying disciplined, right? And how it's really an integral part of our day-to-day success. And we also, I'm going to take a guess, have done a lot of beating up on ourselves when we think that we're not doing a good enough job of staying disciplined, particularly when it comes to our work. So today I want to look at that a little closer and also suggest to you that our intentions might play a key role in changing the way that we think about discipline. So I want to start this week with a really quick story that I think will help us kind of get to the heart of this concept. So I've been working with a client of mine who recently has been struggling to make it through her workday. She's been feeling really distracted, really unorganized, unmotivated, and all of that has been leading her to have a really hard time making it through her day, to the point where she's been falling behind on projects and kind of resenting her work a little bit and some of the responsibilities that she has. Now, I've known this client for a while, and I know that she truly loves her work. She's an accountant, and she designed her business specifically so that she could help small business owners. And she went to school, in fact, with the intention of helping small business owners. So this is a person who's been very clear all along about what she wants from her work and from her career. And I know that it brings her a lot of joy. So in one of our recent conversations, though, when she brought up how she's been struggling, I asked her, what do you think is going on, right? What do you think it is that you need right now? And she said that she thought she needed to be more disciplined throughout her day. So her initial instinct was that she felt like she was losing control over her day. And so she thought that by creating more boundaries and more structure, that would lead to her feeling like she was back on track. So this is where today's concept comes in. In moments when we're having a lack of motivation, or we feel uninspired, or our workday feels a little unwieldy or maybe a little out of control, or we feel like we're not getting enough work done in a day, it's very natural to think that the root cause of that could potentially be a little bit of a lack of discipline or lack of focus, right? In other words, we feel out of touch with what's happening. And so we want to draw ourselves back to a nice set of rules to follow, right? And we think that that's at the root of the issue. And oftentimes we immediately start to beat up on ourselves for not having the innate discipline that we think we should have. And this idea of discipline is a pretty strong story in our culture, if you think about it, right? At the heart of a lot of success stories that we hear about entrepreneurs, innovators, athletes, at the heart of those stories is the level of discipline that they had, right? And how good they were at staying focused or eliminating distractions. And so because the idea of discipline is so ingrained in what we believe is the formula for success, when we don't feel that sense of motivation day to day, or we feel off track, we can get up and thinking that and labeling ourselves as unmotivated and sometimes even unworthy of success. But what I want to suggest to you today is what I suggested to my client when she told me she thought she needed to be more disciplined. Instead of focusing on being more disciplined first, I suggested to her that maybe she should think about reconnecting with and reaffirming the intentions that she had behind her work instead. And by intentions, I meant this. What was her purpose, her goal, her plans, her motivations, her initial reason, and her current reason for choosing to do the type of work that she did in the first place, right? So I asked her to spend some time thinking about why she decided to go to school to be an accountant. I asked her to envision how excited she was to start her own business, right? All the satisfied clients that she had helped over the years who really benefited from her work. I asked her to envision how providing those clients with excellent service was allowing her to meet her financial goals, right? Buying a house, going on a long vacation that she wanted to go on, really picturing herself as the wealthy, well taken care of version of herself that I know she had set an intention to become, right? And so the reason I asked her to consider focusing first on her intention is because when we're connected with our intention and our reason for doing the work in the first place, then we don't usually struggle as much with the discipline part, right? When we feel undisciplined over a long period of time, it usually means that something is out of alignment in terms of our moment to moment and day to day connection with the work that we do, right? Usually means we aren't currently in touch with the source of excitement or the motivation or the joy that comes from the work we do. But when we're focused on our root motivations and when we can get connected with that part of us that was drawn to our work in the first place, and when we're aligned with that sense of personal power that comes from setting a strong intention, then discipline comes much more easily, right? Your root motivation can be anything. It can be your desire to help a certain kind of client, your belief in working for a certain cause, the intellectual stimulation that you get from your work, financial motivation. It can be anything. But the most important part is that you know what that intention is and you're able to present it to yourself each day, really call it forward and rely on it as a source of day-to-day motivation, right? When you're in touch with that intention, then the challenges that we face in terms of being motivated or feeling like things are out of control or falling behind or meeting deadlines, a lot of those things fall back into place because our day-to-day actions and our mindset are driven by the intention, right? We beat up on ourselves less and celebrate why we do our work more. Now, I'm not suggesting that discipline is bad, right? Or that you should reject the idea of discipline. I think discipline and setting up boundaries and guidelines and guideposts is a really fundamental part of achievement, right? And it feels good when we have that structure and those guide rails and those systems and routines in place that help us optimize and maximize. But what I am suggesting is that sometimes we make the mistake of confusing discipline with the power of intention, right? We mistake a lack of connection with our intention for a lack of discipline. But intention is what fuels discipline. Your intention is the driving force, and discipline is really the structure that you build to put your intention to use and to amplify it. So the professional athletes and the entrepreneurs and the successful innovators that I mentioned before, yes, of course, a big part of their story is the discipline that they have and their ability to rely on that. But I'd say an even more important aspect of their success stories is the intention that they set for themselves, right? The reason and the cause and the motivation behind what it is that they do. So if you find yourself feeling unmotivated or feeling undisciplined during the day or feeling out of touch with your work, here's what I would suggest you do. And this is the same exercise that I asked my client to do. First, I want you to take out a big blank sheet of paper. For those of you who join regularly, you know this is one of my favorite things to do. Just a big blank sheet of paper. And I want you to spend 10 minutes answering these questions. What is my intention behind the work I do? And what gets me excited about this work? Is it helping a certain type of client, forwarding a cause, intellectual stimulation, the freedom or autonomy, right, that having this particular type of work allows you to experience? Is it financial gain? The ability to support your family, right? And I want you to think about the things that really get you excited about the work that you do. What's at the core of that excitement? And I want you to just free write, right? Don't try to put any labels under it, just write it out. Second, ask, how have I lost touch with that intention? In other words, how has that intention become masked or overlooked or lost because of the way that you're approaching your day-to-day work, right? Are you so wrapped up in the minutia of the tasks and the projects and the emails and the clients and the stress that you have edged out the progress that you're making each day or the bigger picture, right? Maybe you've trained yourself to move so fast from one thing to the next during your day in the name of efficiency that you overlook the wins or the daily achievements that are actually right in front of you. For many of us, we're so wrapped up in, moving on to the next thing that we miss chances to stay connected with our intention, right? Our intention is expressing itself through our work each day, like helping out a client, doing great work, earning money, but if we're not looking for it, we lose touch with it. So second is just to write down some ideas about how you might have lost touch with your intention in your day-to-day work. And then third is the partner to number two, which is what can I do to reconnect with that intention each and every day, right? What can you do to stay connected with that purpose and that reason so that's top of mind for you, right? This is something I work with my clients on all the time. And it's something for me that I even lose sight of it quite often, right? It has to be an intentional practice. You have to put it in front of your face every single day. Lots of ways to do it. It could be a daily practice of starting your day by reviewing your intention, right? Just as part of the way you move into the day, 20, 30 seconds. Why am I here today? What is the reason behind this? It could be making sure you have and make room in your day to work on things that might not be your highest priority work, but they are things that are fulfilling and remind you of why you decided to do this in the first place. There are 2 podcasts that I put out that I think might help you with this. Episode 13 on workday mantras, and then episode 4 on making room for work that you enjoy. So if you're interested in some starting points for how to further weave your intention back into your workday, I would suggest listening to both of them. I think they might be a great resource for you on that. So those are my 3 action steps. Before we sign off, does anyone have any examples of how after sort of listening to this, you think you may have been edging intention out of the equation or potentially beating up on yourself for not being disciplined? Does that story sound familiar to you? Awesome. Okay, we will leave it there for today. Thank you again for joining, everyone. Would love to connect with you and get your help spreading the word about this series. If you could share it with a friend or give us a shout out on social media, that would be awesome, and I'd really appreciate it. I've got our tags up here on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, we would love if you could like this episode or just subscribe to our channel. It really would help us out. It helps raise the visibility of what we're doing and helps us get the word out and really introduce even more people to the concepts that we talk about each week. So we'd appreciate your help with that. Our next episode is next Monday, November 9th. And in that episode, I'd like to talk about buffers. So in a nutshell, buffers are the actions, the routines, and the habits and the thought patterns that we engage in to keep challenging situations or things that we don't want to confront at an arm's length away from us, right? Our mind's very good at inviting us to engage in certain actions or behaviors so that we don't have to address challenging thoughts or feelings. Next week is going to be a great episode. Buffers are a really big impediment for us day to day. So I think it's going to be a great one. We'll talk next week about how to identify those and how to manage them in our day to day. I will look forward to diving into that with you next week on November 9th. I will see you then. Thanks for being here today. Go have a great work day.